Oh, and we're back. Oh my goodness. I think we're back. I hope we're back. There we are. I'm back. Okay. So, all's good. Not to worry. There's no blood. It's exciting. If you're wondering what in the world I'm talking about, then please go out and check out the first part, the very intro of today's Border Showdown episode. Quick recap. So, I was beginning to talk about border skirmishes between Tholians and Romulans. That's what's going on today in Splintered Will. I was briefly interrupted by my lovely daughter, who was telling me that my other daughter had hurt herself and I had to scurry off and go deal with that. Everything's okay. Not to worry. Let's just say that the tribbles are in the bulkheads and it's going to be that kind of day. So, exciting to move on and get into the story. Let's roll into some data before we get to the maps. All right. So some of our wonderful community members were able to put together not only this table, but a graph, no less, to be able to make it a little more visual for you. Now, I know this graph may not be the biggest, the boldest, or the easiest to see, but the numbers are what matter. On the top above me, you will see this table, quite robust now, with the numbers and various things that are going on. I don't think it's completely color-coded properly, but we'll go through it bit by bit here just so we can see what's going on. So as you know, there are many factions in this game. The Paravians, Hydrons, Remans, Klingons, Kzinti, Federation, Lyran, Goran, Carnarvon, and the ISC. We are currently on turn 45 of our turn-based campaign. And you can see that the Paravians, first on our list, though not first in economy, are at 98.6. This indicates that they've gone up by 4 EP. That's the delta in green there. Their economy has gone up by 4. That's what we're saying here, I think. They have currently 77 ships or ship equivalents. And that, if I'm reading... excuse me, if I'm reading that right, that's an increase of 24 ships. Now, that seems an obscene amount of ships to increase in one turn, especially once we get back to some of the other information there. So I don't think that number is quite accurate, but who knows? We'll see. Maybe the delta is in attack factors, and I'm reading this all wrong. So the economy is 98. There was an increase of ships of 4. That makes much more sense. The attack factors went up by 24, which seems... Perhaps if there were a bunch of ships that were repaired and then new ships were brought online, that could give you an increase of attack factors by 24. That could make sense. The defense factors are 385, increased, or the delta of 70. Yeah, I must be reading these numbers wrong because it just doesn't make sense to me. If I'm going left to right... The economy, then the delta. The ships, then the delta. The attack, then the delta. The defense, and then the delta. So that's... But those numbers just don't make sense to me. There's no way that your defense factors go up by over 100 based on... And there's no way that you could build 24 ships in one turn reasonably. Unless I am mistaken, please let me know how I am wrong. But nonetheless... they've apparently, the Paravians have 16 bases, 16 YBSs. They've built 5 of them in the most recent series of turns, and they have 1 YDK. Their intelligence level now is 5, which means when we get to the big map, we will see where the Paravians are, so that's a little nugget to hold away. Let's go down to the Hydrons. The Hydrons are steady at 87, so their economy hasn't gone up or down. They have, 49 ships, which means, and this must be over a number of turns then, because 19 ships, I certainly didn't build 19 ships in one turn, but I could see 19 ships over 2 turns. So 49 ships in their fleet now, an increase of 19. And the last time we did a live stream, we were talking about Splintered Will, we had 30 ships in the Hydron fleet, so that makes sense. So the delta there is the number of ships, and that is the amount of ships that's increased since our last live stream. There we are. The attack number, 95, which is an increase of 37, which is good, although pales in comparison to the Paravian 70. The defense factors of 237, an increase of 59, again, paling in comparison to the 103. They have a total of 22 YBSs, which which represents a decrease of 2, which sounds atrocious. Except when you go to the number of YDKs they have, which is 8, an increase of 4. So we've built and upgraded a number of bases, and that's why our number of YBSs has decreased. Their intelligence level is 4. And we'll talk about that. The Remans, 106, increasing their economy by 9. 109 ships, they've increased their fleet by 13. Their attack factors and defense factors have both increased by 41 and 60 respectively. They have a total of 11 bases, YBSs that is, 1 YDK, and they are at intelligence level 5. We saw them on the big map last time around. The Klingons, ooh, look at that, 115.6. That is quite the income. They've increased their income by 4.8. They've got 100 ships in their fleet, increasing it by 21 over the past 2 turns. 219 attack factor, 402 defense, increasing their attack and defense by 55 and 78 respectively. They have a total of 20 YBSs, which means they built 3 in the past 2 turns. They have 5 YDKs, no improvement there, and they are intelligence level 5. The Kzinti at 89.5, no longer the lowest economy in the game. No, that prestige is now the Hydrans to hold. They've increased their economy by 11 over the past little while. You can see the graph down below. They are the blue line on the bottom, that is a very good improvement. So they've increased their economy by 11. They have 46 ships in their fleet, increasing by 4. 180 attack, 369 defense, which is a pretty impressive number to increase by when you look at the delta being 171. So that's I'm not sure why that number is so large. I'm being fed these numbers. I wonder if there's any tweaking going on behind the scenes. They have 9 YBSs, an improvement of 2. They have 4 YDKs, and they are intelligence level 1. Halfway through the list, we're at the Federation at 102 income. No improvement there. They've lost, actually. They've lost ships and attack factors. So they've lost a ship, and they've lost an attack factor, and they've only increased their defense factor by 1. So perhaps some combat has occurred. They have 167 attack, 343 defense, 24 YBSs, great number, increasing that number by 5 over the past 2 turns, and 5 YDKs. They are intelligence level 5. The Lyrans next on the list, and the Kings. I'm sorry, I don't know why I keep getting something caught in my throat. More coffee, obviously. All right, the Lyrans at 118.6, increasing their economy by 6.8. They have 128 ships, the largest fleet in the game, with increasing that by 27 ships over the past 2 turns. They have a 284, 518 defense. So 284 attack, 518 defense. That's sick. Increasing that by 69. Great number. 104 respectively. They have 7 YBSs, which is extremely low considering their economy and the number of ships they have. Be interesting to look at that later. They have they've built 1 new base. They have 6 YDKs, which is a great number relative to everybody else, and they've improved that by 1. And they're at intelligence level 5. The Gorn, a highlight of today's episode, they are at 101.8. They've only increased their economy by 1. No big deal. They're still over 100. They have 111 ships, increasing that by 22 over the past 2 turns. 213 attack, 409 defense, improving that by 43 and 75 respectively. They have 18 YBSs, 4 YDKs, having improved the number of YDKs by 3. Whoop, there we are. Over the past couple turns. They are intelligence level 1. The last 2 on our list, the Carnivon and the ISC. The Carnivon at 102.1, improving their economy by almost 4 over the past 2 turns. They have 47 ships, building 9 more over the past 2 turns. They have 110 attack, 236 defense, increasing those by 15 and 29 respectively. They have 28 YBSs, the best number on the board, with increasing that by 4 over the past 2 turns. They only have 2 YDKs, however, and they are an intelligence level 3. The ISC, the last on our list, at 99, just 99 problems, and obviously an EP is 1. They have improved their economy by 1 EP. They have 85 ships in their fleet, building 10 over the past 2 turns, increasing their attack factor to 246 and defense 420 respectively. Again, 420, strange numbers. So they've improved that by 26 and 48 respectively. 11 YBSs in their infrastructure, kind of a low number relatively speaking, improving that by 1 over the past number of turns, but 5 YDKs, that's a great number, increasing that by 3 over the past 2 turns, intelligence level 1. All right, so just as a quick recap, and we'll go back to this again and again. Above me is the matrix around intelligence, and the table we just went over is to the side of me there. And so this just gives you, again, the spectrum of intelligence and what and why things are important. Bottom line is, once you hit 5 on the intelligence level scale, you get to be seen and see the big map, and that's a notable thing. Up until then, you just have these perks when regarding or interacting with the Romulans or the Tholians as your non-player factions that you're probably interacting with, and the ways that you improve your intelligence level are listed just above my head. Again, just as a recap, if you attack the Tholians, you'll improve your intelligence level by 1. If you haven't done anything up until then and you attack the Tholians, then you will bump your intelligence level up to 3 or up to 5, assuming you've met and dealt with the Romulans, because they'll just like the fact that you're fighting their enemies. If you deliver a diplomat to the Romulans or an RD team, you'll bump up your intelligence level by 1. You can gift them a ship, basically a cruiser-sized ship or bigger, and that'll do it one time only. And you can also deliver as many as 6 EP. That'll give you a one-time bump. You can capture the Romulan resource, which the Hydrants have done recently. That'll give you a one-time bump. You can destroy a Romulan colony, again, something the Romulans or the Hydrants have done, one-time bump. And you can capture a Romulan planet. For every planet that you capture, you get 1 more intelligence point. So we'll discuss that when we get to the Hydrants. Keep that in mind as to ways that we can get the Hydrants on the big map, or at least that's sort of the objective. So thinking about that, all that combined, let's slide over to the map. We'll start off with who should we start off with? We'll start off with the ISC, as they are a big map and they have some interesting things going on. All right, this is the ISC. Ooh. All right, so we can see the ISC here. Interesting to note, the bottom of their board has this big red border here. What is that about? Very strange, interesting to note. I think that's probably the end of the map. That's what we've sort of guessed as we're looking at it. If we zoom out a little bit, you can see the big picture here. They have a sort of a man on a prancing unicorn at an angle, if you look at it that way. It's kind of a strange cloud in the sky to be looking at. But nonetheless, that's what we're looking at here. Let's take a quick look at their EP and fleet cap. You can see their EP. I'll put it on the contrasting gray here. The ISC, boom, 99 as per the table. And their fleet cap, again, those are numbers we kind of discussed already. That is a total of 85 ships. Ooh, ladies and gentlemen, another coffee has been fired. Let's take a quick sip to lubricate the larynx. Oh, yeah. All right, so 85 ships, 246 attack, 420 defense. That's where we're sitting with the ISC, so those numbers pan out. Let's take a peek here, and we can see that we're going to take away their ships and just show the bases. All right, okay, no bases, no ships. Let's take a look. You can see, and we've talked about this before, they have a quite proliferation of planets. We can see, of course, there's the close trifecta in the middle, and I'll zoom in just to make it a little easier to see. Close trifecta in the middle, but look at all these minor planets in close proximity to their capital. Not only that, medium planets. Look at that. Crazy. Medium planet here, the 3 of them so close. A couple developing planets more on the outskirts, but lots of minor planets, and even like this major planet up here. You can see, although it might be hard to see on the stream, the red lettering on these yellow icons. You can see that the ISC have been working hard to try to improve their economy with diplomats improving planetary attitudes. This major planet, for example, is a Happy Plus, which gives it an extra EP. This medium planet's at friendly, and I imagine there's probably a diplomat. No, there's no diplomat there, but if it was Happy Plus, it would give them a 0.8 bonus. And there's lots of very obvious intent to increase planetary attitude here. However, just looking quickly at the units, you can see the diplomats over in the far corner here. It looks like the ISC are looking to send their diplomat to the Romulans and work out their differences that way. That's one approach. You can see here, as we look at just sort of like a smattering of what they have with regards to their units, tugs on the outskirts building bases, exploration fleets on the outskirts building out that amoeba-style arm of exploration, and there's lots of tugs in these various amoeba arms growing out. Fleets, exploration fleets, doing the same, and then of course you've got this point of contact with the Romulans. Now we can't see any Romulan fleets or anything, but we do see their planets, so that indicates an intelligence level of 2 or 3 on our scale. Just looking at the scale, it says intelligence level 1, gives the location of the nearest large capital planets, highlights relevant DMZ. So that is intelligence level 1 characteristics right there. We can see the ISC, the first ISC fleet, is in the neighborhood, and we can see that's a cruiser, command cruiser, 3 supporting heavy cruisers, 3 light cruisers, a destroyer and a frigate, as well as a prime team. So it would see the ISC are preparing for the possibility of a little tussle if required, but nonetheless, diplomats heading their way. Oh, look, there's Second Fleet there. Let's take a quick look at Second Fleet. Maybe that's anytime you're ready. Here we are. Second Fleet. Oh, so Second Fleet's a little is the same thing. It's command cruiser, 3 cruisers, 3 light cruisers, a destroyer and a frigate, and a prime team. So they've got quite a combination of fleets in that area to be able to support the diplomat doing what it's doing. Very interesting. Okay. It'll be interesting to see how the ISC manage their relationship going forward with the Romulans. What do they choose to do? Fight or get along with each other? We'll see. We'll see what happens. But it'll be very interesting to see what path they choose to take. Rolling into the Carnivon next on our list. You can see the Carnivon, one of the most powerful military forces in the game. Again, just as a recap, they have the Carnivon have... Oh, I must be misinterpreting. That can't be right. Hold on. Let's look at the EP and the fleet cap here. Okay, Carnivon. Where are you? Carnivon. They have 102.1 as an economy. Okay. Their fleet cap. Oh my God. I must be confusing my games. That's the problem when you're playing so many. The Carnivon only have 47 ships. So I was expecting a much bigger number. So the Carnivon economically are one of the most sturdy in the game. But, they were one of the most sturdy in the game. Now they're sort of in 4th place, I think. 3rd place, on the ladder. But from a fleet perspective, they're not perhaps as robust as we thought. Now, I seem to believe that there was at one point recently, these guys had more than a couple big ships floating around. But we can see here, I don't see a lot of interaction with the Tholians in a negative way. Like, for example, I can see Tholian territory with these control zones, but I don't see any Tholian ships. I can see there are bases built in Tholian space. If I take away the control zone, you can see there's a base right here. But I don't see any Tholian ships. So what is going on with these Carnivon? Very, very interesting. I wonder if perhaps there is some collusion going on, perhaps, between the Tholians and the Carnivon. Perhaps something to think about, my fellow players. Yes. Beyond that, though, let's take away the ships and the bases. We can see here that they have quite a smattering or concentration in the middle of resources, much like everybody else. But the points of contact with the sort of surrounding third or non-player characters, Tholians, Again, south, southeast, and north, you've got these pockets of Tholians, but no ships. Weird. And then, of course, the Romulans in the top northwest here. So I'll be interested to see how that evolves going forward, what we see with regards to how they evolve, and what they do with their interactions. Because right now, again, the highlight for today, interactions with the Tholians and the Romulans. The Carnivons certainly have made contact, but I don't see them doing anything. So it's kind of interesting and strange. Now, we talked about the Carnivon having grown their fleet by almost 10. So they got 9 new ships, and they've built a number of YBSs or bases. But I don't really see a lot of combat orientation here. It's all still on the exploration. Very interesting to note. I wonder how that's going to manifest going forward. And just as a quick thing, let's look at their 2 fleets here, Barrel and Home Fleet. Carnivon, where are you? There we are. Carnivon, they have Home Fleet, obviously. And where's that other fleet? Barrel Fleet. Okay. So interesting to note that the Home Fleet has nothing in it, but the Barrel Fleet has a command cruiser, 2 drone bombardment cruisers, and 3 drone bombardment destroyers. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Northern Planet is devastated. Let's take away the ships here. Okay. So, pointed out, thank you, Jim, pointing out in the chat there that the Northern Planet on this spectrum is devastated, meaning that despite my the slag that I'm flinging the Carnivon's way, it would seem that I am completely wrong about their collusion and cooperation with the Tholians, but rather they are taking it to them in the gut. They have taken a planet, Tholian planet, which would be this planet up here, and I imagine there'll probably be a planet down here somewhere, and they're probably engaging that way. One of the reasons why the Carnivon might have such a small fleet is because they've been spending their fleet in combat with the Tholians, so that could be a possibility, an issue, something that has happened there. So very interesting to note how that is breaking down and how that's going. I'll be curious to know from the Carnies, how are the rides, but also how is your war progressing or your conflict going with the Tholians? How is Big Red treating you? Is it a burst of flavorful fun, or is it something else? I know these terrible 80 commercial references. We'll slide into the next one. I'll save you the pain of my terrible dad jokes. And we'll go into the Gorn. So you can see this. This is an example of a player, picking a fight with the big bad. So you can see here, based on this map, we've got the Romulans to the south and the Tholians to the north. Let's zoom in here and let's focus in on the point of conflict here. Now we can see, based on the interactions, based on the Gorn interactions with the Tholians, they have telemetry or information on a number of Tholian ships. So you can see these stacks of ships. Very obviously, this is not a small stack. What is that? Three cruisers, a command cruiser, a carrier, 2 scouts, war cruisers. Oh my God, 2 Black Widows, 4 Black Widows, excuse me. Destroyers, 4 destroyers. Man, that's not a small fleet. Long story short, that's not a small fleet, and they're all GW ships, which means they have some very potent attack factors. Similarly, over here on this stack, we have, wow, oh my God. So we have the organization of it is a little hard to follow. I see at a glance 3 destroyer scouts, 3 destroyers, 3 cruisers, 3 war cruisers, a command cruiser, a carrier. No. A cruiser war scout, maybe, if that's a thing. So that would be 4 potential scouts, another 3 DDs, so 6 DDs, 2 Black Widows. Yeah, it's a little hard to to sort out because it's mismatched as far as the organization there. But nonetheless, big stack. So let's segue the control zone for a second. Let's focus on how and where this all went down. So let me give you a quick overview of this, as has been explained to me, the conflict. The Gorn have been obviously a very expansive and pushing the boundaries kind of faction. We've seen them grow very quickly, and in this game, as we've gone through the various turns, they are one of the leading economies in the game. They've bumped into the Tholians and have claimed, out of all things, and I'll take away the control zone, this particular resource. Now, the Gorn player is role-playing a specific sort of character when it comes to the Gorn, and so the Gorn are displaying a certain number of characteristics. As part of that role-play, they have laid claim to this particular resource. Now, from a strategic perspective, one like solitary resource on its own, not a particularly large gain one way or the other. However, based on the particular characteristics of the Gorn in this game, they have laid claim to that resource, which, as you can see here, is inside the Tholian control zone. This has sparked some back and forth between the Tholians and the Gorn about who owns what and who will own it at the end of the day. Long story short, Gorn want it, aren't willing to give it up. Tholians want it back and are not willing to give it up. And so there is a little bit of a contesting fight going on here. Now, very clearly, as we've discussed, or as I've demonstrated just with looking at the stack of ships and the fact that they're GW tech versus the Gorn's Y level tech, or put it another way, GW is like high level 4 and Y tech is medium level 2. So when we look at that scale of technology and the capabilities and competencies that come with those technologies, the Gorn are outclassed in every way. So how do they deal with this issue? Well, very clearly on a ship-to-ship basis, the Tholians outclass them pound for pound. They will get clobbered every single time. However, the Gorn have one particular advantage. They have industrial capacity. They can build a lot of stuff. And they've done that by building a lot of frigates. Now, we've talked about, in other games, we've talked about how the Gorn really suck early on. Their ships just don't have a lot of attack factors, and they just don't have a lot of offensive firepower or capability when it comes to this level of technology. Later in the game, in GW, they are a force to be reckoned with. They have some of the best ships in the game. Expensive, but some of the best ships in the game. At this early stage, though, they're not capable in that same regard. However, interesting tweak in the rules. Again, inspired by F&E. One of the rules in F&E is called pinning. And basically what it means is each ship equivalent that you have that is not crippled, meaning a fully capable ship, can, if it moves into a hex, any enemy ships that are in that hex force the ship that's passing through to stop. Think of it like somebody stopping you on the sidewalk. They like push up against you and they force you to pause for a moment and deal with them. That's essentially what's going on here. And for each ship equivalent that they have, it doesn't matter whether it's a dreadnought, battle cruiser, or a little frigate. For each single ship that they have, that counts 1-to-1 for pinning. So what the Gorn have effectively done is they've built a ton of these little frigates. Let me show you. Gorn 3rd Fleet, by example. And I know it may seem hard to see here, but they've got 10 frigates in this fleet. They've also got 7 light cruisers and 2 command cruisers. Now, they had a couple more ships in here, but some stuff got blown up in the most recent encounter. They also have a couple crippled YFFs here as well. So they had basically in excess of 10 YFFs here, which when we get to later time frames isn't a lot of ships, but at this early stage, quite a few. Especially since if you count it all together, that's 10 plus 7 plus 2, so that's 19 total ships. Well, if we do the math over here on this stack of ships, oh, be nice. So we do the math on this stack of ships, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. They have a total of 24 ships in this stack. Now, my understanding is with the initial encounter, when the Tholians moved to attack and destroy this base station. Again, I'll just take away the ship so you can see. There's a base station here. They moved in to attack that. There were 19 ships in the attacking fleet. The Gorn, as the Tholians moved towards them in 1009 or 909, whichever hex that was, the Gorn moved out using reaction rules. If you don't know about reaction, we have a video in the tutorial you can go check out. They moved out to interact and pin the incoming Tholian ships 1-to-1. They fought one battle round and then retreated. They lost a couple ships, but they stopped the Tholians from getting to the base and blowing up the base. Booyah! So they stopped them from getting to the base. That's the kicker. So why is that useful? Well, in the example here, the Gorn are trying to make it very difficult for the Tholians to take that hex. They're stubborn. They don't want to give up any territory, regardless of whoever thinks belongs to them. So they took that hex, they're building a base, and they went out and pinned the Tholian ships so the Tholian ships couldn't come in and blow up the base that I believe at the time was under construction, so not fully operational. They go out, they pin, they prevent the ships from getting to the base completes, and now there is a base in that hex. I imagine the Gorn are, probably going to upgrade that bad boy to a YDK so they get maximum offensive firepower, electronic warfare, repair capacity, all that stuff that comes with bases, or a YDK in this case. And they will probably overpopulate that area with ships to try and prevent the exact same thing from happening, or give them the capability to pin. So it's an interesting tactic. What the problem or the challenge is, when you do that, in the Gorn's situation, which is they are pound for pound, they're going to lose every time they fight the Tholians. They will lose that fight 10 days out of 11, or they lose that battle 12 days out of 11, and they will start losing ships. So if their industrial capacity is high enough that they can build more ships than they lose, no problem. However, the Tholians are also potentially building ships and bringing ships into the area, so they need to be able to balance that out. And again, pound for pound, the Tholians are going to be better. How is this going to end up or work out at the end of the day? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I'm sure that the Gorn player has a few more tricks up his sleeve, but this was a very interesting and dynamic use of pinning to show you that you can tactically lose the battle, but strategically win the war in this regard. He lost the encounter in the hex approaching the YBS, but strategically he won because he prevented the Tholians from reaching their target and destroying the base. Very, very interesting. So, all that to say, I thought that was a great use of pinning. A great use of pinning, and I'll be interested to see how effectively they can use it in the future, as the Tholians have quite a few ships in the area, and because of the Tholians having GW, they have a couple key advantages over the Gorn. One, they can move 6 hexes with their ships. The Gorn can only move 4. 2, the Tholians have a 6 supply range, and I expect the Gorn only have 3, maybe 4 supply. So either 2/3 or half the supply range as the Tholians, which basically all that means is that the Tholians can attack with impunity, and the Gorn are always going to be on the defensive. It would seem as though the Gorn are okay with that, and they'll work that out, but it's an interesting dynamic, meaning that the Tholians control when and how the engagements happen. The Gorn just have to prepare and react appropriately. We'll see how that goes. All right. But other than that, exciting stuff. We've got a wormhole here with an R&D team, which means they're working on their wormhole tech. We've encountered the Romulans when it comes from the Gorn perspective, so they are certainly moving that ball forward. And there's still exploration happening on the fringes. However, interesting to note, the overproduction of survey ships has stopped as they are retooling and doubling down on their ability to build warships, which is totally understandable considering their situation. So, interesting to note. All right, let's roll into the Kzinti here. We can see the Kzinti are kicking butt and taking names. We can see that they are encountering the Romulans, but not much more. Just like the ISC, which we talked about just a moment ago, the ISC had sent a fleet and a diplomat to be able to engage the Romulans, looking to up their intelligence level. The Kzinti, like we noted before, excuse me, are at intelligence level 1, and really aren't particularly motivated to increase that, at least at this time. Just confirming our EP and fleet cap calculations, we can see our EP for the Kzinti is 89.5. Again, beating out the Hydrants. Fleet cap is at a beautiful 46 ship equivalent with a 107, 220, 107 attack, 220 defense. So that's good. And we can see here that we continue to have a series of look at that, a YDN. So we have fleets and exploration happening on the outskirts. We have tugs in strategic positions, building bases and or providing extended supply. Looks like base building is rampant. So these number 3 and number 4 tugs are building bases or just completed. Number 2 and number 1 are in position, ready to start building more bases. And interesting to note, so in their homeworld or at their homeworld hex, you've got 2 command cruisers and a DN, so good. I don't see any other major fleets. Oh, there's home fleet. Let's look at Kzinti home fleet. Kzinti, where are you? Kzinti home fleet. Oh, well, there they are. They were hiding. So basically everything's in this home fleet. We've got another DN, so 2 DNs in rotation with the 2 DNs in rotation with the Kzinti. A command cruiser, a bunch of strike cruisers here. You can see they are 3 6 ships, 3 attack, 6 defense, 4 of those. A couple light cruisers, commando cruiser, and then a boatload of these frigates. You've got 6 plus 6 plus 6, 6, 18 plus 3. So you've got a total of 21 frigates, not a small number, a bunch of cruiser-esque vessels, strike, light, and command, respectively, and a DN commanding it all. So I'm just going to throw it out there that maybe the Kzinti are looking to tussle with the Romulans as a way to be able to advance their intelligence level if they are so inclined. Regardless, if the Romulans decide to pick a fight with the Kzinti, it would seem that they're ready. So that's good. That's good. I see Bill saying, whoa, still no dog in this fight, but glad to be here. Hi, Jim, and you can't be petty. Okay, frigates are good for nothing, Chuck says. Well, they have their tools. They have their uses, as the Gorn have shown with pinning. So they do have a use, but combat-wise, they could do more for sure. But hey, frigates are frigates. It's what they are. So interesting to note the disposition. Notice the footprint of the Kzinti, not overly large. Speaking of footprints that aren't overly large, let's go back to the Hydrans. Now they have a slightly larger footprint than the Kzinti, and I'll just put it in here for contrast. So same scale at this point as far as zooming in. I'll zoom out. Maybe that'll be an easier way to get an appreciative look at it. So here's the Kzinti, and maybe we'll try and shrink this a little bit. I know my head's in the way. Oh, and it did that. Oh, it's annoying. Yeah, this screen is not behaving. Anyways, so you can see here the Kzinti. If that is the Hydrans, and you put the Kzinti over top, there is just not the same footprint. However, interesting to note, despite the not the same footprint, the Hydrans have a lower economy. So the Kzinti are doing better pound for pound than the Hydrans. Let's take a quick look at the Hydrans. Again, just to recap EP and fleet cap for these guys. The Hydrans are at 87 even. And fleet cap. You can see the Hydrans have 49 ships, 95 attack, 237 defense with a 245 fleet cap. There are a couple of cripple ships in the float. So I'll take a moment here and just quickly describe what's happening over in this big blue border over here. I'll take it with the control zone so you can see a little bit more clearly. So essentially what happened was there was an interaction with the interaction between the Romulans and the Hydrons. When we first showed up in this neck of the woods, there was this DMZ zone, which was down the side and through the corner here, along the 7 route, up and down, and then on this diagonal right kind of where Home Fleet is. And understandably, we blew right through that because it wasn't a legit neutral zone. It was just identified as a demilitarized zone. So we went into the military zone. And going into that zone, we found a couple things. We found a resource that was right here. So I'll take away the ships and the bases so you can see. So we rolled in here. We saw this resource down here by this pulsar. We saw this colony here, and we saw this resource here. And initially, I didn't grab any of those resources, just kind of moved into this space and started building bases, as you can see here. Now, I was moving in and building bases, just kind of building logistical support. And then once the intelligence framework was explained to us, and I shared that with you on the live stream, then I pulled the trigger to be able to move the needle significantly forward with regards to the Romulans. Prior to that, I didn't see anything with regards to the Romulans. I saw a couple of resources, and like I said, that colony, and I didn't necessarily see where the planets were. I think the closest planet that I could see was this developing planet here. That's it. So at that point, the Romulans, if I was in their territory, they hadn't reached out or communicated with me. There was no interaction with the Romulans at that point, and so we sort of knocked on the door, if you want to call it, and took a bunch of resources. 0617 took that one there, took this one here in 0613, and took this colony right here, and that bumped in one turn our intelligence from, I think we were at like 1 or 2 up to 4. And as a result of that, we had a little interaction with the Romulans. So where are we here? I want to... Right. So I'm trying to find the I'll just do a quick search for Robin. And so we had an interaction with the Romulans, and we received a message, or rather, once we took the ships, they moved a whole bunch of stuff into our area. So there was a bunch of ships that stacked up here, and there was a stack of ships down here. Once I saw that and I could see them, I sent them out this message. Broadcast to the Romulan fleet in sector 0316 from Home Fleet in 0514. So I had a fleet right here where this stack of ships is, and there was this trifecta of ships in this area. I say, Romulan vessels, I am Marshal Icon of the Hydrant Industrial Corporative State, Hicks for short. In an effort to de-escalate tensions, I will cease my advance into designated Romulan territory. Keeping in mind, I didn't have access or could see the control zone markers that you see here prior to the last turn, when I took all those resources and colonies to be able to open up the map. So I didn't have access to that until this moment. I will cease my advance into designated, i.e. the control zone, Romulan territory and withdraw my fleet to sector 0815. That's right here where this tug is. And if I take away the ships, where that tug is upgrading that base to a YDK. I propose a ceasefire and the start of negotiations to avoid a prolonged and destructive conflict. As a commercially and scientifically focused state, the Hicks would be interested in beginning commercial trade and the exchange of information. With your permission, I will send a trade convoy to your closest population center with the hopes of establishing a regular trade between our states. I look forward to your cooperation. So, we engaged with them. There was the beginnings of an interaction, and their response was, Marshal Icon, you don't understand the gravity of your actions. By destroying the bases supporting our energy barrier, never detected, never seen, You've exposed us to the prying eyes of the great enemy. This puts us in a very risky position. This can be resolved if you prove a sufficient buffer to their aggression. Our demands are as follows. 1, remove your ships from Romulan territory. Leave your bases at 0713 and 0615 behind as compensation. 2, no Hydran ship may move into the 07 hex row, so that 7 stack up and down, where my second fleet is currently. Hex row from 0701 to 0717. For reference, the 0717 is right above this base right here. So they want that as like a line in the sand. You will formally and humbly apologize to the wise Romulan Empire on your live stream, and you better mean it. Understanding the nature of your Hydran industrial corporative state, we offer in technology and insight. We will provide you with access to the subspace network, thereby sharing position and telemetry data of ships in this sector. Regrettably, we have yet to crack the Tholian transponder encryption. We will also provide you with base survey technology, allowing immediate insight into the space within your static supply coverage, so within my supply range. Very helpful thing in finding Tholian bases and monitoring Tholian fleet movements. Finally, we will provide diplomatic introductions to our great friends and business partners, the Remans. Okay, fair. So as a result, I responded to their communication. Again, this back and forth. To our Romulan neighbors, thank you for engaging in dialogue with the Hicks. We look forward to a mutually beneficial resolution to our discussions. In response to your request, I am pleased to note that no Hicks vessels are within the Romulan area of control. We would be pleased to publish a press release for the galactic media conveying our apologies and regret over the breakdowns in communication during our first contact, leading to heightened tensions between our states. I don't see how we can meet the third request regarding our base stations in 0713 and 0615. I look forward to our next round of negotiations and reaching a mutually beneficial agreement. They responded, Hicks, in an offer of good faith and understanding of your position as a buffer between the Tholians and us, we are willing to cede claims to 0616 and resources in 0617. Basically, that's the little base down here and this resource. We will amend the demarcation. Your ships will not be allowed north of 0515 and 0615, which are basically where this colony and the resource are. Prefect Ornasi. Ornasi, excuse me. Prefect Ornasi, thank you for your understanding and flexibility. If I understand your message correctly, there is still one base station that is unresolved. As mentioned, I don't see how we concede the base in 0713, which is this bad boy up here, where Second Fleet is. Marshal Icon, apologies for the ambiguity. We are adamant that your forces vacate the base. We will bring it up to Romulan standards and continue monitoring compliance with our treaty. Of course. Prefect Ornasi, we appreciate your clarification. You see a trend here? I don't see how we can agree to those terms. I understand, they respond. Thank you for the engaging dialogue. We will return to the negotiating table in 6 months, i.e. next turn. So what happened then? Well, as you can probably tell, as these two were Romulan, they attacked. So two things happened. They moved, and I'll take away the control zone so you can better see stuff. They had a stack of ships sort of in this vicinity, and they moved things forward. One, to be able to claim this resource and this colony. And then they moved a big stack of ships that were right here onto this base in 0616 to attack it. Let me show you how that battle went. So, first, this is the battle board, or the battle mat, for the combat that we had. You can see on the far right are the ships in reserve. Next, in the required units, you can see there is a base, YBS, currently in the process of being upgraded to a YDK. And there is a tug as a co-located unit in the hex, has to be there. It's upgrading the base. Okay. The ships that I brought to the fleet, so there was extended reaction ships sitting on a base 2 hexes away that reacted into the hex to support the attack or the defense from the attacking Romulans. They were a number of command cruisers. You can see there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 command cruisers, 2 Vols or frigates in that battle line. Command cruisers can command 9 ships above and beyond themselves, so there's a total of 10 ships in the battle line for the Hydrants. The Romulans brought themselves a command cruiser themselves. That's a King Bird, the YKB. They also brought that light blue ship, which is a Falcon, a Y-era Falcon, which is a Mauler. That's a very nasty ship. It has the ability to do directed damage at 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 versus the formation bonus of 3-to-1 or the normal directed damage 2-to-1. So they have a YFL. It's also a 7 attack, 7 defense ship, which is pretty impressive considering our Y-era ships. And then, of course, they have a bunch of other things. They have 3 Warbirds, which are kind of like cruisers, something in between a light cruiser and a cruiser. They are 4 attack, 5 defense ships. They have 3 destroyers, which are the Y Hawks, 3 4s. And then they have 3 YSNs, 2 of which are in the battle line at 2-3. There were 3 rounds of battle, or 2 rounds of battle and a pursuit battle. In the first round of battle, we got ourselves to... Whoop, wrong one. We got ourselves to this. Let me just maximize so we can see that better. Okay, so in the this was the final round. So in the first round of battle, I crippled 2 Vols and then swapped out the crippled Vols with non-crippled Vols. I did some damage to him. I did directed damage onto his Y Falcon, crippling it. And there was a little bit of splash damage left over. Then in the next battle round, I want to say, was there 2? Maybe there was only 1 battle round and then he retreated. I can't remember now. I should have made better notes of this. But either way, they attempted to retreat and I pursued. Now I had 6, you can pursue with up to 6 ships. So I had 6 command cruisers in the pursuing force. There were 2 battle rounds because in the second battle round, he did 10 damage and I wanted to, I crippled and destroyed 2 Vols to be able to resolve that 10 damage. And he took damage and crippled some YWBs. And then, so that was 2 rounds of battle. The first round, I crippled some Vols. And the second battle round, I crippled and destroyed some Vols, just based on the way the rules went. And then I pursued. So I pursued with 6 command cruisers, which is pretty decent. And he retreated, having to put all his crippled ships, and then he put all the rest of the ships in the battle line in the retreat. Now, we did this sort of in real time, and one thing that I did not do, or I did that was poor. So when you do this battle sequence, you kind of have to hide your cards a bit. Otherwise, if you telegraph what you're going to do, then the opponent can compensate or mitigate what you're doing. So in our conversation, Bad Tony, I indicated that I was going to direct damage his Falcon, and he didn't think about that initially, and then he put the Falcon in the formation bonus, meaning that all the ships were protecting the Falcon. So that kind of blew. He had in the last battle round, he had a burr of 2 and I had a burr of 4, and I wasn't able to generate enough damage to direct damage. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, coffee. Yes. Coffee has been fired. I will follow up. I can't see it right now in the chat. It was from the prefect himself, Robin. Cheers, Romulan prefect. Very interesting interaction. Okay. So he had a couple of ships, and I did directed damage because I couldn't direct damage his Falcon and actually kill it. So I directed damage the next best thing, which was a cruiser, a YWB. 2-to-1 damage. I ended up killing it with 6 points of damage, 2 splash damage left over, and he, I think, crippled another frigate. So you can see here, he lost a cruiser. I lost 2 Vols. There were a bunch of cripples left over. He's got 2 crippled frigates and a crippled Falcon and cruiser. I've got 2 crippled Vols and 2 crippled cruisers, and that's the resolution of that battle. So, now what? Well, we were in a ceasefire, or at least a proposed ceasefire. We were in negotiations, and then the Romulans attacked. So, very obviously, we're not in a ceasefire anymore. After all, ceasefires mean you're not shooting at each other. And that was very clearly shooting at each other. So, as per the request from the Romulans, they wanted an apology. It is unfortunate that the Romulans have chosen to blazingly disregard the good nature and productive conversations that we were engaged in. They have disregarded, ignored, and vagrantly violated our ceasefire agreement. They have aggressively attacked Hydran forces despite our withdraw and effort to de-escalate. So while the Hydrans are looking to de-escalate this conflict, the Romulans seem very eager to escalate the conflict. The Hydrans unfortunately regret that this has occurred, again furthering the heightening of tensions and the continued miscommunication and understanding. The Hydrans will continue to make every effort to negotiate an effective resolution to our conflict, but will take every appropriate action to defend Hydran interests in the area. The galaxy is a dangerous place. Are you friend or foe? We'll have to see. So it would seem to indicate that we're looking for the Hydrans, again, being a completely transactional and sort of profit-focused, or looking for the best return on investment. At the moment, based on the negotiations, the perspective is there's no real return on investment. The Romulans are asking for ceding of territory and resources, so giving up EP. And they're not offering anything of perceived, or not offering a lot of significant perceived value in exchange for that. Now, granted, Romulans might think what they're offering is the cat's meow, it's like gold-plated bananas. Strange metaphor. But regardless, they think that what they're giving you is highly valuable. From the Hydran perspective, we've never encountered the Tholians. We know the story of the Tholians. We've never encountered any Tholians. This big bad threat that's being discussed, haven't seen it, never heard of it, don't know what you're talking about. The only threat that we're encountering is a bunch of Romulan ships that are firing on ours. Prior to this encounter, no Romulan casualties at all. In the sense of we'd taken a resource and we'd conquered a colony. Shall we say we changed the administration of a colony, because we're corporate, right? We're not violent terrorists. We rolled in and we reorganized the management structure of the residential administration. Unfortunately, the Romulans decided to bring phasers and fire where rhetoric and writing would have been the best approach. It's okay. We use spreadsheets. You use spears. It's everyone's got their thing. But the Romulans are very clearly responding in a militaristic and violent way, and the Hydrans will take an appropriate, measured response to be able to defend themselves. We'll just have to see how this all breaks down and how this works out. At the end of the day, we're not the Hydrans. That is, we're not a overly violent race, but we are very much focused on the things that we value and the objectives that we're trying to reach. We are looking for strategic partners to be able to accomplish those objectives and key results. However, the Romulans are not engaging us where we're at, unfortunately, making demands that we can't comply with, unable to abide by the ceasefire to continue negotiations. So it would seem like we're going to continue negotiations under fire or something like that. We'll see what happens. But the changing, as opposed to having a static set of circumstances that you can negotiate around, now we're going to have a dynamic set of circumstances on which negotiations are going to occur, which just makes negotiations more challenging. All right. With that said, let's roll into the big map. Ooh, so this is really zoomed out so you can get a sense of what's going on. So let's take a big picture analysis. We've got the Lyrans in the top left corner. We got the Remans in red right here, looking almost like a little maple leaf. We've got the Federation in orange over here. The Klingons down below in the bottom left. And who is this egg-looking blob right here? That, my friends, is the Paravians. Interesting to note. One, of course, the Paravians are there. Sort of where they predicted they were going to be based on these, and I'll zoom in, based on their observation of these briar patch areas here. And I'll zoom in one more. Slide over. Come on, slide over. Oh, I can't slide over. I'm going to have to slide my head over. The map's getting so big. It's crazy. All right. So you can see as we zoom in here, the briar patch geography here is the what they were using as a landmark to indicate where they were. And there's this massive Romulan territory right above them. So that'll be interesting. Whether they choose to interact with this Romulan territory the way they've interacted with the Tholians up until now, we'll have to see. But interesting to note this blob of Tholian territory looks quite concentrated. The Romulans, obviously a big barrier there. Curious to note, based on the disposition, where are they? So let's just take away the control zone for a sec and zoom in. See this bar here? Notice there is a YBS and a couple of frigates and a warbird here. YBS, a couple of frigates and a warbird there. And then let's look at the, where is it? The Gorn map. Warbird, couple YSNs. Warbird, couple YSNs. Warbird, couple YSNs. Warbird, couple YSNs. It seems like this looks a lot like that. So my guess is that the Gorn, and this is just a guess as we zoom out, that the Gorn are right here. And they are encountering a large Tholian force right here. So it would seem, if we know that the Hydrons are here and the Remans are here, that if the Romulans, if they were so motivated and they wanted to resolve their issues with the Hydrons, that they could then cooperate and collaborate to coordinate an attack on the Tholians here, which could help out the Gorn. Question is, do they want to help out the Gorn? That's a totally different issue. But certainly it would seem as though this area is Tholian owned, and the Hydrons and the Remans are in a unique position to be able to help the Gorn if that's where they are. Just saying. That's a significant possibility to be able to help them out should they need it. But let's slide over. And we know that the Lyrans, and I'll move my head over. We know that the Lyrans are big in this game. Again, let's look at EP real quick. The Lyrans are at 118.6. Look at that, 118.6. Their fleet cap alone, anytime you're ready, computer. There we are. Vassal is just a little slow. We've got 128 ships with 284 attack. Oh, look at that. Time is ticking. Okay, and so we've got a large concentrate. Like they are big. Footprint-wise, they're pretty big. Remans are also pretty big. So we've got a large footprint and a lot of ships and fleets and various other things. But it looks like it's primarily, I mean, I look at this attack and defense factor, they've got to have a large military, but I see a lot of exploration stuff happening here. If we go down, it would seem as though, and I'll just widen this out, it would seem as though their big fleet is Far Stars, foremost. So Apex has 12 ships in it, 31 attack, 51 defense. Far Stars has 12 ships in it, 27, 41 respectively. Foremost, 13 ships, 33, 53. And so that's sort of like how that breaks down. So we have Pelt Hunter. What Pelt Hunter? Where's Pelt Hunter in this list? Exploration. Pelt Hunter. Oh, 18 ships with 43 attack, 71 defense. That's down there. Predator fleet. There's Apex and Far Stars. Those were the two big fleets we noticed up there. Looks like they're getting ready to tango with the Romulans. I don't see where Predator fleet is. Hold on. Well, somewhere here there is Predator fleet. I just can't see it in the sea of... Oh, there's Predator fleet sitting over here in a position ready to perhaps tango with these Tholians as I move that down. So you can see this stack of Tholian ships. That's quite a stack with a dreadnought and a bats. That's not a small stack of ships for sure. So that's very interesting. So the Tholians are... the Lyrans are very well equipped at this point to be able to tango with the Tholians. It looks as though they are tangling with the Tholians, and they are stirring the pot. Will the Lyrans be happy to focus on just the Tholians and cooperate with the Romulans, or attack the Romulans in addition to the Tholians? We'll have to see. I would imagine they can only take on one at a time, especially considering the Tholians have so much more potent ships. We'll have to see how that goes. So we scroll down the list here, and I'll take away the control zone for, the supply menu for Fed 2. Get rid of that. So you can see that Fed 2 is in this neck of the woods. I'll take away their ships and bases real quick. And you can see Tholian. Is there a control zone there? Yeah, so Tholians are in that neck of the woods, you can see. And we bring back ships and bases. And I will... Oh, there's a bunch of crippled ships here. It looks like there may have been an interaction with the Tholians. We can see that if we take away the control zones, the Feds have built quite a network of bases, you can see, into Romulan-controlled space, looking to cooperate, perhaps align themselves or protect the Romulans. Not sure. But you can see there is quite a starbase. Whoa, look at that. Starbase right there. Bats, battle stations, that is, along the border. Whoa, ladies and gentlemen, another coffee has been fired by someone. We are now at 100% of our goal for today. 4 coffees fired. Thank you very much. Quick sip to lubricate. All right, so we've got Federation in this neck of the woods. And looks like they are picking a fight with the Tholians, and certainly the Tholians are not sitting quiet. They've got ships in this area. Ooh, that's another starbase there. 4th garrison. Let's see. Tholian. Would they be in minor fleets? Minor empires? No, they're going to be straight up in the Tholian faction. Okay, Tholians, where are you? You're there somewhere. I know you're there. I just, for whatever reason, can't see you in the sea. There you are. Tholian garrisons. Whoa, 4th garrison. That's the one down here. So command cruiser, a bunch of war cruisers, 4 of them, bunch of destroyers, 3 of them, 2 Black Widows, and a scout. Okay, well, it's not crazy, but considering what's in this neck of the woods from the Federation side, 1st Fleet, Fed 2, 1st Fleet. Oh, that's New Fleet, excuse me. Fed 2. Battle Fleet 1, maybe? I don't even know. It's 1st Fleet. Where is 1st Fleet? Numbered fleets. Here we are. Okay, so, whoa. So 1st Fleet is, oh, this is interesting. A W-era dreadnought, 2 of them, 4-7 ships, a YCC, 3 YCAs, a Vulcan scout, and a command cruiser. Wow. So it's not a very big fleet, but the dreadnoughts are significant. 5th Fleet is behind it with a whole bunch of... What? YCS? That's a survey ship, isn't it? I'm so confused. That's not a ship. Okay. Maybe that's a survey ship. I'm so confused. As opposed to a light cruiser, a YCL, which is a 3.5, versus the YCS, which is a 2.5. I'm so confused. And what else we got here? We got 2nd, 5th, 11th, and 12th. So 2nd Fleet, that's the big one. Look at all those frigates. 14 of them. Yeah, 2 hospital ship there and a commando ship. A bunch of light cruisers, 4 of them. 3 cruisers. Yeah, so 1st and 2nd combined. That's a good one. 11 and 12. I don't see anything here. Is there anything under here? Nope, nothing there. All right, so 11th and 12th. Oh, those are expeditionary fleets. Excuse me. All right. So very obviously the Feds are moving stuff into that neck of the woods to be able to deal with the Tholians. So let's talk about the Klingons real quick. They seem to be... Oh, look at that. Third garrison. Let's go back to Tholians for a sec. Third garrison. Third garrison, that's a heavy dreadnought with some war cruiser action, 3 destroyers, 2 Black Widows, and scouts. So not like game ending, but we've got 5th, 7th. So those are a bunch of exploration fleets. There's nothing there. Where are we here? Klingon? Bueller? There we are. Klingon North Fleet. Here we are. North Fleet. So North Fleet for the Klingons. Whoops, let's put it over here. Has a bunch of E2s, 4 and 3. No, 4 and 4, so it's 8, an F4, and a D4C. So I don't see this battle going well for the Klingons, depending on where they fight it. But considering that the ship balance between the garrison fleet and the Klingon fleet is not in the Klingons' favor, I'll be very curious to see if and when they pick a fight with because I'm assuming they will, if they pick a fight with the Tholians, how that's going to look. They've got Green Fleet in the Martok? Green Fleet, boom. Green Fleet's also in that neck of the woods. It has a cruiser, 3 destroyers, and a cruiser. F4s are fantastic ships. So between the D4, the D4C, and they have a chance. They definitely have a chance. I'll just be curious to see how this all shakes out, because this garrison, again, third garrison, heavy dreadnought, cruiser, that's 20 attack factor just in that. Then they've got Black Widows with fighters. They've got a scout. Like there's just a lot on the Tholian side where they can really cause a lot of pain for the Klingons. It's going to be interesting to see how that balances out. Okay, so we got Klingons, we got Federation, we got Lyrans. Let's talk about Remans. And I will move my head to the other side. Whoop. All right, Remans. Now, I'm very interested in the Remans because, of course, you can see on the corner here that the Hydrants are ready to pop in and say hello. So we can see that they're doing a lot of research on wormholes in this Delta wormhole once it decides to play nice. We can see that the Romulans are interacting with, look at this. They've got a bunch of ships in Reman space. Very interesting. Sending an R&D team, obviously, to the capital of the Reman Empire. Very interesting to note. Was pointed out to me last time that this is not a Reman planet, but a Tholian planet. So the Remans are starting to make contact with the Tholians, as well as Tholian resources on the bottom here. I know it's hard to note, but the Reman stuff is red, white, and black. You can see that. So if I take away the ships here, this is Tholian, this is Tholian, this is Tholian, this is Tholian, this is Reman, this is Reman, this is Reman. So there's quite a bit of Tholian stuff here that the Remans are bumping into. Interesting. So let's look. We've got auxiliary. I'll be curious to see what... Oh, and there's another fleet there. There's Athena fleet. So let's look at Reman Athena fleet. Reman Athena. Athena being the god of wisdom. Command cruiser, 4 command... Or let me try that again. Command cruiser, 4 cruisers. A commando ship. Oh, these destroyers are awesome. Look at that. 5 of those bad boys. They're such great ships. And then 2 frigates on their way, or at least on the border with the Romulans. Question is, with the conflict and the breakdown in negotiations and the violation of the ceasefire that's going on with the Romulans, are the Remans going to send ships to help the Romulans, or are they going to continue to prosecute resources against the Tholians? It's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out. If the Romulans are unable to reach an agreement with the Hydrants for whatever reason, will they take it to the point where they will, in either option A, go into Romulan territory to support the Romulans against Hydran hostilities, or will they say, maybe we don't need the Romulans, and just start taking Romulan territory while the battle while the Romulans are distracted with the Hydrants. So if the Romulans shift all their resources to deal with the Hydrants, does that leave them vulnerable to a Reman attack? Maybe. Will the Remans send ships to support the Romulans? Maybe. Which one is the best for the Remans? Who knows? It'll be interesting to see. And then regardless of which path either one of those guys take, what does that mean for Hydran-Riemann interaction? Will the Hydrants and the Riemanns play nice and be nice with each other, or will it be something else? Interesting to note. It'll be interesting to see how this all sort of pans out as we go down. But let's quickly look at bases. So we can see there's a base under construction on a Tholian resource right here. We've got bases. So there is, from a supply network perspective, there's not a lot of reach for the Riemanns into Tholian space, although once this base is complete, they can certainly take this planet, which will give them reach sort of in this direction. That'll be good. Once they take the planet, though, they'll have to, they'll probably build a base on it, but there's a period of time while it doesn't provide supply, about 10, 14 turns, and then go from there. And then look, I didn't notice this. There is a Tholian base station, 2 Tholian base stations, and battle or planetary ground bases over on this neck of the woods. If I bring back ships, whoa, we've got destroyers and a patrol craft, a carrier with escorts. Ooh, solar fleet. Let's see Riemann solar fleet. Riemann. I know you're there. Riemann solar fleet. Where are you? Solaria. There we are. So with those ships there, and they've got a dreadnought. Look at that, KC4. That's a Riemann dreadnought, a 6/8 ship. Great, and they have Cerberus fleet in that area too. Riemann Cerberus fleet. Whoa, this is a good fleet. Okay, I'm gonna move this a little bit easier. Okay, so Cerberus fleet is the one up here with the dreadnought. It has a command cruiser, quite a few cruisers. 5 cruisers, 4 destroyers, 2 commando ships, and destroyers, and frigates. So this is good. This is good. 3 frigates, 3 destroyers, 2 cruisers, and a command cruiser in this space right here. And then what's up here? Rykon fleet. So Riemann Rykon fleet. Okay, so Riemann Rykon fleet, which is sort of like over here. Another command cruiser, 2 cruisers, 4 destroyers, and 2 frigates. So when you combine all those fleets together, that's more than enough to stomp this Tholian. And that will be interesting to see how that... Because, of course, the Riemanns are going to pick a fight with the Tholians. Why not? Do it. Get her done. But when they do that, what's going to be the result? Because, and we'll use this as a segue into our good friends, the Paravians. If we zoom in here. The Paravians have been getting their... feathers plucked by the Tholians. The Tholians, you can see here, have blown out a bunch of bases and attacked a bunch of fleets in this area. So we have, this is interesting, a monitor ship, an FRD, fleet repair dock, bats. Whoa, ladies and gentlemen, another coffee has been fired from Pekka Khan. Second garrison, Tholian second garrison. So the second garrison has 4 war cruisers, 2. These are some small kind of carrier, a bunch of escorts, a scout, and a command cruiser, and then again fleet repair dock, battle station, 3rd expeditionary. Whoa, what are those? Exploration fleets. Okay, so they have Tholian exploration fleets here, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Destroyers with patrol craft. These are all just sort of like escorts, and they're just sitting there on top of this bat station, providing it defense. And then you got 1st Garrison and 4th Expeditionary. Noting 1st Garrison has the, I don't know what kind of dreadnought this is. So it's a dreadnought with 6 fighter factors. They've got, so destroyer escort, patrol craft escort, and the FCR has in brackets a 6. That's 6 fire factors that it can use to replenish the destroyer, the dreadnought, that is crazy. And that's going to just move into, and then 4th Expeditionary Fleet. Oh, man. Yeah. The Paravians are in a boatload of trouble in the sense that they have poked the bear, or the anthill, and the ants are now pluming out the top. And these aren't just like little ants. These are like army ants, big pincers, going to cause you lots of pain. But let's take a look at what they have in the neck of the woods. So let's just take away the ships real quick and look at bases. So we have you don't have on the Praevian side a lot of infrastructure to support this attack. I don't see any YDKs. Why are YDKs important? You need to repair the damaged ships. Repair them quickly, get them back on the front lines. I don't see that here. Also, in this game, YDKs can locally build one YFF a turn. No ability to forward deploy and build ships. So there are no YDKs in this neck of the woods. First note. Poor infrastructure, generally speaking. There's not a lot of base network supporting this attack. 2. 3. Let's look at the actual ships in the fleet. So we got Hawk, Eagle, and Raptor. Where's the Praevian? See, looking for these. There we are, Praevian. Okay, so we got Eagle and Hawk. So Eagle, Praevian, Hawk, and Praevian Raptor. As my daughter would say, Velociraptor. Raptor. Okay, I'll put Raptor on the side here. Hawk and Eagle. So Hawk and Eagle are right beside each other. Eagle on the left, Hawk on the right, just as it is on the map. And I'll put Raptor up here just so it makes it easier. So this is a big fleet. Kudos to the Praevians for this. 2 YDNs, which are good ships. And the big thing is their command factor. They have 10 cruisers. Excellent. For the Y era fleet, this is excellent. So 10 cruisers, 4 light cruisers, and 6 frigates. Excellent. Another YDN in Hawk fleet with a cruiser, light cruiser, and 4 YFF. So combined, this is quite a good fleet, and arguably, I don't know if it'll go toe to toe with the garrison, maybe, but it's certainly not nothing. So now we got Raptor and Kestrel. I'll pull up Kestrel as well. No, that's Romulan, not Praevian. Praevian, Kestrel. There we go, Kestrel. Okay, so Kestrel's on the left, right here. Raptor on the right here. So Kestrel has another DN, 3 CAs, 3 light cruisers, and 8 frigates. And then Raptor has 4 frigates, so bringing it up to 12, another light cruiser, and 2 cruisers. So 5, and what was it, 12? Or 11? 4, 12. Okay, so again, combined, a very decent fleet. And these 2 fleets alone can go take out this. The challenge or the problem is, for the Praevians, is this. And anything else that's in the back end here that they can't see because of fog of war. Again, this is a similar problem that the Gorn were facing, in that there is, pound for pound, the Tholians outperform what the Praevians can put forward. Now, granted, what the Praevians have in theater is pretty good for what they can build. Will it be enough? I don't know. The 2 biggest Achilles heels in this particular effort is the lack of repair capacity, meaning YDKs, and the layering or the density of their infrastructure in the back end. Just to illustrate that again, and this is sort of like, this is the pitfall of the growing quickly philosophy or approach that we've seen up to now. Up to now, it's been incredibly successful for everybody. Economies over 100, like everyone's doing really well. But the challenge is, when you bump into somebody, you don't have the ability to be able to soak up, or you don't have the infrastructure to back up your ability to defend yourself. And that's kind of what's going on here. We know that the Praevians picked a fight with the Tholians. Always exciting. But there just isn't infrastructure there to back it up. And I know it's hard to see with the red and the orange here, but look, 1, 2, 3 bases. Then there's a void, this big pocket of nothing. There's a base over here and a base over here, but there's no other bases in here. Meaning that if they're going to build YDKs to support and repair the ships that get damaged on the front lines, they've all got to be like right here, which are targets for the Tholians that they can hit and destroy. So while you're building up those bases, you really got to defend them. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. There's 2 things about wars in this game. The first is, when you need ships, it's already too late. And I'd say the same thing for bases. Infrastructure is key. And Sun Tzu said this in his Art of War. And, you've heard variations of this, like armies march on their stomachs and various other things like that. At the end of the day, you need to be able to have infrastructure in place to support your efforts, whether it's attacking, defending, exploration, what have you. The strategies up until now have been extremely successful for most of the players, which is build my bases at the edge of my supply, minimal amount of bases. I'm relying on the planets that I'm exploring for the supply network, and I'm just exploring at maximum rate. Now we're entering, shall I say, another phase of the game where we're starting to bump into neighbors and opponents that are going to fight back. In the Hydran example, it's the Romulans. In the Gorn, Lyran, Paravian, and a number of other players, they're encountering Tholians. And they're fighting that battle. Now, the Federation and the Klingon, they have some bases in their neck of the woods. Not a lot of repair capacity, but they've got some. The Remans look to be very successful in the sense of they've got good base infrastructure. Not a lot of YDKs, but good bases around where they're attacking. And the forces that they're fighting on the Tholian front, not significantly overpowering their forces. Like the balance is, they got a lot of Y ships, not a lot of GW ships that they're fighting. The Lyrans, they seem to be doing quite well in the sense of they are also dealing with large Tholian fleets, but generally speaking, they seem like they're going toe-to-toe, and they may be losing some ships, but overall they seem to be doing okay. We'll see how that goes. But certainly when it comes to the two factions I think that are in the biggest hot water, the Paravians and the Gorn, as we just saw with the Paravians they have put themselves in a pickle. How are they going to get out? Because the Tholians are not going to back down, and the Paravians are not going to back down. So what techniques, what strategies can they employ to be the most successful that they can be? I would highly recommend building bases. I would highly recommend building infrastructure to make that happen. We shall see. Noting that my chat over there is not tracking the chat that's up and running right now. That's a technical issue. We'll deal with that. But that's just because of the hot excitement that was the start of this live stream. So disregard the chat. It's not live. Maybe can I change it though? I got to run here in a moment because lots of activity happening on my end. Yeah, let's see if I can fix this in real time. Stand by. General change. And give it a second. We'll see if it changes. There we go. We are up to date. So the Paravians and the Gorn are in their frigate fights. Are they going to just destroy ships? Are they going to do something else? We'll see. It's a very interesting sort of evolution as this game goes on. And by contrast, the Hydrant's lowest economy in the game, they're playing the opposite of that, right? Like I showed you, there are 4 YDKs on the front with the Romulans. And I'll just to illustrate this point, and this will be like the example that we'll use, and I'll just switch my head to the other side here. So just to illustrate this point, let's just take away the ships for a sec. Look at the bases in this neck of the woods. So there is no base station here. This is just a planet. You've got a YDK up here, away from the front, a YDK over here, away from the front. Right here in this concentration, you have mutually supporting YDKs. Of course, they're just in the midst of getting upgraded right now, but they'll be operational next turn. So 1, 2, 3 YDKs being upgraded, and then there's one back here as well. So this one was pre-deployed, or like once we encountered the border, we built it there, or I built it there, just to knowing that there would be some need to have YDKs at some point in the future. And then bases were built, and they're immediately getting upgraded to YDKs. So you've got 4 YDKs or 32 repair factors in close proximity to the battlefront. And their total, and if I look at the big map, just if I look at the big map, because of course we can see on the big map everything, right? Whoops. So if we look at the big map here, we can see they've got one YDK here, one YDK here. They don't even have a YDK over here. They don't have, in their entire area of operations here, they don't have YDKs. So the question is, from a tactical perspective or from a strategic perspective, will the strategy of strong infrastructure and reasonable fleets win out over big fleets and minimal infrastructure? That's the debate I will send to you. Put your comments below. If you followed this long into this live stream, then where's my cursor? There it is. If you followed us this long into this live stream, an hour and a half in, then please be like Dan McLeod down there. Hit the subscribe button. And for those of you who have fired photons of coffee our way today, cheers to you. That being said, I have a party that I have to go to. It's that time of year. Once a year, got to celebrate it. It's my day today. I will see you next week. Let me know in the comments if you liked this time at 9:30. We could maybe do it again. Or do you prefer the 11 o'clock, which is our normally scheduled time? Hopefully no more interruptions next time with regards to injuries in the family, but we always got to be a maximum flexibility when it comes to our family, right? All right, with that said, I will see you all next week. Put your comments below. Let me know what's going on. And if you followed this long in the live stream and or watched on the replay, put your note in at 1:31 into this live stream. Put it in the notes, and we'll see. I'll reply to those comments specifically. All right. Thank you, everybody, for those birthday wishes. I will see you all next week. If you haven't already, then hit the Coffee and Discord tier and join everybody in the chat on our Discord channel and talk about this subject. Is the infrastructure where you need to put your money, or the fleets, or a balance of both? You let me know. I'll be excited to have that discussion with everybody after I finish paintballing and board gaming. So, ciao for now. I will see you all later. Bye.